Welcome to A Bit of Insight, where we explore how to live well, travel far, and inspire others along the way. I'm your host, Lisa Mosbey, and if you're ready to design a life you don't need a vacation from, you're in the right place. Most people dream about traveling someday, when they retire, when they save enough, when life slows down. But what if you didn't wait? What if you built a life where your home moved with you and your business came along for the ride? I'm your host, Lisa Mosbey. If you're ready to design a life that you don't need a vacation from, you're in the right place. Today, we're talking about something that sounds like a dream, but it's actually a real lifestyle, traveling America by boat on the Great Loop while still running your business. And my guest today is someone who is planning and preparing for it. LeAnn Lyon is an entrepreneur, certified John Maxwell speaker, kingdom influencer, martial artist, and host of Beyond the Business Plan podcast. She's also a part of a growing community of entrepreneurs discovering how to build businesses that support a life of adventure. LeAnn, welcome back to A Bit of Insight.
It's so good to be here, and I love this topic. Let's go.
I know. Well, before we get started, I want you to tell folks exactly what is the Great Loop. When I learned of it from you, I have goosebumps. I still get goosebumps just saying the words out loud. Tell us, what is it?
Hi. So the Great Loop is, like you mentioned, it's a way of traveling around the eastern half of America, really, by boat. And there are a lot of extras that you can add into it beyond what we've talked about in the past. But do you want the navigation directions, all the rivers, and I mean,
Maybe
not
not
that.
all the rivers, but give people the idea that you're going to head down the Mississippi, where you're going to make a turn, and how you're going to get back to Minnesota, where you're starting from.
Good. There's actually only three rivers, so we'll do it.
Okay.
So we start in Minnesota. I live in Minnesota. We are on the Mississippi River right now, really close to St. Paul. So we will head down the Mississippi, as Lisa said. We will take a left turn at approximately St. Louis onto the Ohio River, which goes up into Tennessee, and then it splits and we'll go onto the Tennessee River. Now, technically, we still are heading upriver on the Tennessee River, even though it will bring us down to essentially Mobile, Alabama. There's a little bit of a man-made section that we did get to go through too. And then that brings us to Mobile, Alabama. I'll skip the excursions for the moment. Then we go around the Gulf, around Florida, up the East Coast through the intercoastals, which is about 3,000 miles of not really being on the ocean. So a little bit safer, a little more protected. Then we go into the St. Lawrence Riverway, into the Great Lakes, up through some really cool things in Canada, down to Lake Michigan, Chicago, out the Illinois River, and we cross our wake back at the Mississippi and then head home.
So we're going to unpack all of that. First thing is, how many miles is it and how long does it take?
So if we just did what I just described,
Yeah.
no excursions, and we started where we end, crossing our wake, it would be about 6,000 miles. And everybody wants to know, how long does it take? Oh, you want
Yes.
the
I do want the, well, I think, there's the word, it depends, because like you said, there's going to be excursions. This could be a lifestyle. It could be the rest of your life that you experience. There's so much to explore. But what is your planning and preparing in your mind? What does your trip look like?
Our trip is going to be Jack, my husband, says 2 years. I say three, and that we will be able to take our time. And I'll give you a couple of other scenarios, though, just to put it in perspective. Last year in 2025, a 72-year-old gentleman in a fishing boat, mind you, a fishing boat, outboard, no cover, steering with his arm, did the 6,000-mile loop in 17 days and 13 hours.
Did he
Yeah,
sleep?
I don't know. Um,
Wow.
and yeah, I mean, there's so many locks that you have to go through. Locks are where the river is actually different heights, and you go in and it changes level, and then you don't go out. It's pretty cool, but there's a lot of them, and they can stop you for 3 hours if a barge is already going through. So I mean, he had to get extraordinary. It is a world record. that he set. I have zero interest in doing anything like that. That would just be
No,
miserable.
you and I are both slow travelers.
No. And, people have done the loop in canoes. They've done it on jet skis. They've done it on sailboats. They've done it on power boats. They've done it on anything that goes by water, pretty much, except maybe an inner tube. And friends of ours did it in 55 weeks, so just over a year. And
Okay.
they had to average 30 miles per day to do
Okay.
that from here. Because being in Minnesota adds about 600 miles to get to that starting point and to get back from that starting point. So, really, another 1,000 miles, 1,200 miles onto the 6,000. So, from
And then
here, yep. What?
timing of the year has got to matter too in Minnesota. When is the boat in the water and are you going to be arriving during a snowstorm?
Right. Yeah, absolutely critical. And it's not just about Minnesota timing because we can get in the water. A lot of people are anticipating getting into the water April 1st,
Yeah.
which we often get snow in April. So I'm like, I'll let the last snow go before I uncover my boat. I don't want to have to shovel dirty snow off my boat. We like to get into the river about late April or early May. But the problem is there's a ton of flooding that happens up here and experience all the way down the Mississippi that can go into often into May, June. Some seasons we've even been not able to be on the river even in July due to flooding. We had a July 4th that we actually, to go to our boat, we would have had to take a boat to get out to our boat in July because of the flooding up here. So you don't want to go during flooding season. But the other thing is you don't want to go during you don't want to end up in Florida area for hurricane season. So you want to have all this timing. So most people will leave Minnesota if they're going to try to do it in one year. They leave Minnesota usually in August or September and try to get down. I can't remember all the timing exactly because we're
Yeah.
not doing it yet. But I think they're trying to get. When does hurricane season start? In November?
August through November typically.
Oh, okay. So they don't want to get down there until November. So they don't want to get into the area until November, and then they spend their time and then maybe go over to the Bahamas. We also want to go to New Orleans. And then, by the way, those rivers I mentioned, there's rivers that go onto those rivers. So if you really want to get creative, and we do, one of our excursions will actually be off of right where the Tennessee and Ohio meet. We're going to take another river and go over to Nashville. And that's another 200-mile excursion each way. I've never been to Nashville.
Oh my gosh. I
Oh,
have friends there, right?
my
I go
first,
through it every year when I go back and forth cross country. So
yep, never
I'll
stop.
meet you there.
Yeah, I'm really excited to go to Nashville and it's fun. I've never also been to New Orleans. When my husband and I were dating, we wanted to go to New Orleans. My dad's like, "You're not married." We're like,
Oh my gosh.
okay. So we never went. So Nashville and New Orleans are on my bucket list to visit for the first time. And how cool to do it by boat.
By boat. One of my favorite things in New Orleans is because it's on the Mississippi, you can dine outside. You're right there where the boats are going by and the barges are going by. And I've been there so many times. My most recent trip was a solo trip when I was going to a conference in Texas. And I'm driving and I seen a sign that says New Orleans. And I'm like, oh, I can take a couple hour detour. I don't need to get in that early and just went. And I had coffee and beignets and, just meandered around the French Quarter and grab some gumbo. It's one of my
Yeah.
favorite places to eat because I love the food there. So I'm excited to hear about your experience. So
Well,
get on the boat, girl.
with all the stuff that's happened in New Orleans too, I was sad every time I've heard of all the stuff that's happened in New Orleans. I'm like, oh, because people say it'll never be the same. And they're right. I'm sure it is not the same,
I was
but it will
amazed
still
how
be,
thriving it is, though.
yeah, I was gonna
It
say
it
it'll
has
still
come
be
back.
what it
Yeah.
is, and I'll still get to see what it is when I get there. So
Yeah.
I am
It's
excited.
the
And
heart of
by
the
the way,
people.
did you notice I'm not taking the Mississippi down to New Orleans?
I did notice that. I did notice that.
Want to know why?
Why?
Because after St. Louis, there's about a 400-mile stretch on the Mississippi that is known to have no gas stations
Oh,
and pirates.
pirates In the US? I had no idea.
Well, yeah, it's considered a very dangerous stretch of the river to go on. People who do decide they just really want to go down all the way, Huck Finn all the way down the Mississippi, they actually will have to get extra gas tanks to put on their boats so that they have enough fuel to get through that 400-mile stretch. And again, 400 miles is a long time. Remember, I mentioned that couple was doing about 30 miles a day. That's a lot to do on a boat, quite frankly. I mean, maybe 4 or 5 hours, but that's a lot of time going full speed on a boat. And 400 miles would be better part of 2 weeks.
Wow.
So without really no marinas, no community, kind of isolated, not much for internet, not much for places, really no place to stop.
Yeah.
So, not an area that we're interested in going through. We're like, no, we'll stay where it's safe and community and
Yeah.
things like that. I have so many visions of what it's going to be like. Ooh, by the way, like, and what I'm going to wear. So
I
I
love
wear
it.
this because I have a podcast, and that's my podcast thing. And I fully plan to keep going and doing my podcast on the river, but maybe I'm gonna spice up what I wear a little bit and growing my hair out because I can see wanting my hair back, throw it up in a ponytail. Ta-da!
There you go.
Here's River
It's it,
Leanne.
it's funny that you say that. I'm doing two podcasts today, and then I'll head to the beach. So I'm sitting in a swimsuit and a swimsuit cover up for my podcast today, and that is the nomad lifestyle. I only have so many clothes with me in a suitcase. I have only travel with so much stuff, and you make do with whatever you have. And this particular color seems to be, doesn't get dirty as easily as anything else, and it's just convenient and easy to wear. Throw in your cottons, and you're all set. I have a question for you. When did you first hear about this adventure and what inspired you or pulled you in to say, that is what I want to do? That's number one on my bucket list. And then I can hit all these other places that are on my bucket list, New Orleans and Nashville and so on. When did you hear about this and how long will you be planning before you actually get in the water?
The big question is the second one. First question, though, when I met my husband, um, he didn't want me to like him for the things he had or his competencies. So I didn't know he was a pilot for months and months and months after we were dating. I didn't know he had a boat. We met in January. I didn't find out he had a boat until May when one day he said, "Let's go boating." I'm like, "What?" But we've pretty much had a boat ever since. And the first boat was a 16-foot runabout. We put it on Lake Minnetonka. We had that until we had kids, then we needed something a little bigger. We had that on Minnetonka briefly, but he really grew up on the river. And when I got a taste of what it was like to be on the river with a boat, it changed everything. And so even when we moved further away from the river, I said, I still want to be on the river. I don't want to be on a lake. Lake is very limited as to where you can go. And if there's three restaurants you can get to and that's it. Where on the river, we have our choice. Do you want to go up to St. Paul or even to Minneapolis? Do we want to go downriver? We've gone as far as what's called the Quad Cities, where there's an intersection of four cities, I think in three different states, Iowa, Illinois, and Wisconsin or Minnesota, I forget. And it took us a week to get down there or 5 days to get down and probably 7 days to get back. And it was lovely. We took our kids on the boat down to La Crosse. So the river just gives us so much more freedom. And then I think just because we were on the river and we were in a marina and we started talking to people who were doing or planning to go on the loop, and we're like, the loop? What's the loop?
Ooh.
So I think we've known about it maybe really only about 5 years. I think it didn't gain a lot of popularity and still fewer people from my knowledge have finished the loop, actually crossed their wake, the 6,000 miles, than have climbed Mount Everest.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had no idea that that was the case. Let's give folks a definition. What does it mean to cross your wake?
Cross your wake is when you go past the same point that you've gone past before and completing the loop. And by the way, as far as, ways to do the loop, some people do it in chunks. They'll do 2 weeks at a time.
Yeah.
They'll jump in. They'll go down the river 2 weeks or a month. They'll park the boat in a marina, maybe even dry dock it, go home, live their life for 11 months, come back, take a month off, do another month. So there's no wrong way to do it. But the ultimate is that there is an organization. You don't have to go through it, but it's kind of fun. And they give you a flag like, hey, you're part of the organization. Hey, you're on the loop. Hey, you completed the loop. Hey, you've done multiple. And you can put the flag on your boat, and people who see you know that you're part of this group, that you're part of this organization. They have get-togethers in different cities every year, and there's a lot of support, and there's a lot of camaraderie, and places that people can ask questions like, "Does it really matter what kind of toilet paper you use on a boat?" The answer is yes. Or what do you do? How do you handle the lines? And what does this mean? And so lots and lots and lots of information from a really generous group of people. And I'm also part of a Christian Loopers Facebook group as well.
And I've been part of that Facebook group with the loopers as well. You invited me to that. So
Mhm.
I'm learning all kinds of the language and the terminology and kind of getting a fire in my belly to say, maybe someday this is something that's going to be on my bucket list. Because I too was a river rat. My dad always had a boat and I grew up on the river, but never had I heard of something like the Great Loop. And we call it this we called this podcast the lifestyle. We're talking about the loop lifestyle because it is each family or individual or couple that does it, they do it their own way and it becomes their lifestyle and
Right.
they get to choose. So we talked about this being your way to, you're going to work and you're going to adventure through, through the United States or through the
Yeah.
eastern half of the United States. What is a typical day going to look like when you're living and working on a boat? And what kind of business um, affords a mobile lifestyle? Both of you and I have been working in that direction for some time. So share a little bit about that.
Yeah. I've had a lot of careers in my life. I've been a teacher. Well, then you have to get to a school. I've been a sales rep, but again, you generally have a territory. Some sales, of course, now is virtual and you can do things. I've been an owner of a business with a location. Again, you check in, you check out. I have been a real estate agent. Got to kind of be where you're going to sell and facilitate home sales. Um, and all of that was just not, I didn't like, I've never liked, the reason I left teaching was I didn't like being locked into something. And teaching really felt that way, like, whoa, you are locked in here until we say you can go home. And so when we closed our manufacturing company in 2019, my next move was like, I'm going to start a travel agency. That's what I did in 2019. I actually started, this is one reason we met, was I said, I'm going to go into travel. And then 2020 hit. So I had to pivot again, as did you. And I started my company Joyminder with the idea that it would help inspire people who want to get out of those corporate lifestyles. Maybe they just are burned out professionals in who knows what field, but commonly hospitality, healthcare, teaching, even real estate. People can burn out. They just realize they don't want to work the nights and the weekends, which, by the way, is me too with real estate. And so how can you step into entrepreneurship? In my wording, it's not my wording, it's God's wording. He said that he gave us a purpose for our lives even before we were born. How do you step into that purpose? Especially if you know that you haven't been, like becoming a teacher. I loved being a teacher to a degree, but I knew it wasn't my ultimate calling, but it taught me a lot about what I'm doing today. So all of those experiences led me to what I'm doing today, which is I'm a private money broker, meaning I help real estate professionals buy and sell investment properties. I won't go into all the details, but that I can do from anywhere for anyone in the United States. So it becomes a mobile thing. Now, a lot of people want to step into, say, coaching. They can do that. Podcasting, you can do from a boat, as long as you can get consistent Wi-Fi, which of course is always the question. Um, but we could talk about that if you want to. So
Nah,
yeah,
we'll
there's
save those
to
details
it.
for another time. But so
Yeah.
what would a typical day look like for you?
Oh, typical day. Sure, sure. So I picture, again, we'll see, but I picture that it would be more of I'll set up my times that I record podcasts. I'll set up a time during the week that I plan to upload and download things. But I love getting up early in the morning, so I picture, but often that's the best time to travel too. So I don't fully know, but I picture stopping at a dock or a marina or, excuse me, my tea's giving me hiccups. Um, or even pulling anchor for a couple days at a time and just being, just soaking in the atmosphere of whatever small town we're near, go in and get some ice, just sit on the water and be able to work peacefully from the back of the boat or inside the boat if it's raining or whatever the case is. So every boat I look at, I'm evaluating where would I sit for the podcast? Things like that. And what would Jack do while I'm working? So I don't know. I picture a few hours dedicated per day, or maybe a day a week that I just focus on doing the stuff. And I'm setting up a lot of systems and assistants so that other people can take tasks that need to be done on a more regular basis off of my hands.
It's preparation, preparation, preparation. I mean, that's what allows us to do this. I prepared for almost 2 years when I decided I was going to be a nomad and let go of everything I own and see what I could do to live out of my car or from an RV or find a tiny house, all of those different pieces. You explore all the options and it seems to find you what resonates with your spirit, with your soul, where you want to be. Are you going to be on land? Are you going to be on water? Are you going to be domestic? Are you going to be international? It's all of these choices that we get to make, but it really has lit fires under both of us. I mean, your energy goes as soon as we start talking about the loop. When I start talking about going to Spain in a couple of weeks or going to Portugal or these different places or the trip from out in Africa, like my energy just goes up and I start to vibrate at a different level. So I want to do a quick rapid insight round before we wrap up this podcast. I have a series of questions and we're just going to shoot fire, 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 and see what comes out of you. All right, first one is favorite stop you're looking forward to on the Great Loop. Great Loop.
Boy, I already mentioned Nashville and New Orleans. I think also just seeing my family in North Carolina when I go
Oh,
past there and having them come out and see us. And at that point, we'll be over a year into it, maybe in our second year. But just that moment of saying, here we are, like we said, all these years.
sunrise or sunset on the water?
Oof, I guess sunrise, but both.
It's always both, but yeah. Are you a morning? You said you're an early morning person. I kind of could have
We're
guessed
morning.
sunrise, but yeah, I love coffee at sunrise and I like cocktails at sunset. So,
I was gonna
but
say,
sunrise for me, I want to start the day that way. Yeah.
and loopers get together for the sunset. That's a thing.
Uh,
So as you go and you see the flag, loopers get together. They often travel together too.
okay. Coffee on the deck or coffee at a marina cafe?
Deck.
One thing people always bring too much of on a boat.
Clothes. You don't have that much
Okay.
space.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say clothes. I mean, it can be a very simple lifestyle. Remember, nobody's really seeing you more than a day or two at a time,
Yeah.
other than in my case, my husband. And
Yeah.
anyway, we won't go there.
And you'll have to have a uniform for your podcast, right? I mean, make it
I
easy, right? You can wear the same thing and there it is. That's your
I
brand.
already do. I
Yep.
already do. Hmm.
Yep. I'm shifting into that world because it's so much easier. Last question. One mindset shift that creates more freedom in life.
I'm meant for this.
Ah, I think a lot of people think that they can't, or they don't have enough money, or there's not enough time, or they'll do it when they retire. That changing those words to "I'm meant for this" can collapse that time frame. That's what I heard when you said it. What did you mean by it?
Yeah, the first thought that did come to my mind is I can, and then I'm like, that's so passive. Can. is still passive. It doesn't mean it's active. And so I just asked God, I said, what is it? And I'm meant for this.
You are. And I can't wait to see the pictures. I'm more eager for you to get on the road than you are. I know you guys are still in the planning stages, and when you have homes and properties and cars and things, it's all about the timing and jobs, and making money and planning for your retirement. But oh my gosh, I can't wait. I'm going to be on the dock. I don't care where in the world I am. I'm going to fly to that location. I'm going to be on the dock and wave goodbye as you take off
And
for
that's a
home.
big thing. That is
It
actually a
is.
thing that people plan is their send-off party. And it's just and I've been part of a couple of those and they are very special. So it'll be an honor to have you there.
Yeah. All
And
right.
and you can visit us on the way. We are buying a boat big enough that we can have visitors. And we want to.
Beautiful. Beautiful. For some people that might be traveling the world, for others, it might be simplifying life or working remotely. But the real insight in this idea of freedom isn't found someday. It's designed intentionally. And that's what LeAnn and Jack are doing is they're designing it intentionally. I love conversations like this because they remind people that there are so many ways to explore the world, whether it's by land, by air, or sometimes by water. And for those that want to travel with a community of adventurous people, that's exactly what I created Insight Getaways for, bringing people together to travel, to find personal growth and meaningful experiences, not just in our own backyard, but around the world. LeAnn, last question. If someone listening today is stuck in a routine that no longer excites them, what would you tell them about choosing joy and adventure in their life?
You deserve it. If you feel a tug that direction, you are called to it. I'll say it. I said it before. I'll say it again. You have a purpose for your life. If you dig down in a quiet space, maybe in prayer, and say, Am I living my best life? And the answer comes back anything other than a solid yes, then you're not. And if
Mm,
then you need to go pursue that. Now at Joyminder, we have a download called the Sailing System, and it's all about stepping towards that. And, maybe you want to become a travel agent like Lisa. That's amazing. I would love to facilitate you becoming a travel agent with Lisa. It's actually one of the things that we offer to support entrepreneurs in stepping into something that will bring them joy.
perfect. Well said. And folks can find you at joyminder.com.
Joyminder.com. Or if you are interested in real estate, and that's a whole different conversation, but I really believe that we can build a better world by choosing carefully where we put the gifts that God has given us in the financial gifts and making it more available to many people. Housing scarcity is a real thing. Housing scarcity can cause young women to step into um, very scary situations, and I would love to see that happen less. That is one reason I became a private money broker, and that is
Beautiful.
Line Capital. Right. You can go to actually, I'm going to tell you the real one because this is always going to be. You go to savagelion.com, and no matter what, that will get you to my website. Savage Lion, Lyon.
Perfect. Folks, we'll find you, I'm sure. And, thank you so much for your time today. We did this kind of spur of the moment. We were talking about it. I saw some fun things on the Facebook page for the people who are doing the loop. And I said, let's have a conversation about this. So I appreciate that you can just move. When time is open, we just hop on and we talk about it and we pour into people. So thank you so much for being with me today.
My pleasure.
Yeah. And for folks, thank you for joining us for this episode of A Bit of Insight. If today's conversation inspired you to think bigger about how you live, work, or explore the world, share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, live well, travel far, and inspire others along the way. And we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks, everybody. Thank you for joining me on A Bit of Insight. If something today stirred your curiosity or lit a spark, don't let it fade. Through Insight Getaways, I curate intentional travel experiences around the world, and I also help women book unforgettable journeys they design. Whether you want to explore solo, travel with friends, or join one of my escorted group adventures, there's a place for you. You'll find details, resources, and upcoming experiences at insightgetaways.com. Be sure to share this episode with someone who needs a little courage and clarity. Let's spread the message and reach more women ready for their next chapter. Until next time, live well, travel far, and inspire others.